There's a kind of power that doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It simply endures. When storms come, it doesn't break. When others panic, it stays still. When the world demands comfort, it chooses pain. That power is ruthless discipline. Not the wake-up early kind you hear on social media. I'm talking about the kind Machiavelli admired, the discipline that bends the world to your will, or breaks you trying. Today, we're not talking about motivation. We're talking about something colder, harder, and infinitely rarer. This is the ruthless discipline that makes you unbreakable. In his writings, Niccolò Machiavelli warned that he who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. But before you can command others, you must first command yourself. Let's break down the 8 ruthless disciplines that forge the kind of strength Machiavelli would respect, and the world can't ignore. 1. The discipline of self-denial. Machiavelli understood one eternal truth. People destroy themselves through pleasure. Comfort kills ambition. Ease breeds decay. And the man who can't say no is already conquered. Think of Roman generals. They had wealth, power, and indulgence all around them, but they trained in cold, rain, and hunger, because they knew luxury weakens the will. In a world of endless indulgence, discipline begins with restraint. Every time you resist a craving, you steal power back from your weaker self. Effective affirmation. I do not need comfort. I command it. 2. The discipline of isolation. Power requires solitude, but solitude terrifies most people. Machiavelli spent years in exile, alone, hated, and forgotten. Yet, in that isolation, he wrote The Prince. That book reshaped political strategy for centuries. Here's the paradox. To control others, you must first learn to be alone with yourself. In solitude, you face your own chaos. You confront your desires, your fears, your illusions. And only then do you become a master of self. Effective affirmation. My solitude is not weakness. It's my sharpening stone. Remember, lions hunt alone. Sheep move in herds. 3. The discipline of obsession. Machiavelli admired rulers who were possessed by purpose. Because obsession isn't madness, it's fuel. Leonardo da Vinci filled thousands of pages with sketches and notes. He dissected corpses to study anatomy, stayed awake for nights studying the flight of birds. That's not balance. That's obsession. And it's the engine of greatness. If your goal doesn't haunt you, you don't want it enough. The world tells you to be well-rounded. Machiavelli would say, be razor-sharp. Effective affirmation. I am consumed by purpose. My focus is my fire. 4. The discipline of control under fire. Everyone has a plan until chaos hits. That's when real discipline begins. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king. He led Rome through plague, war, and betrayal. And yet, in his meditations, he wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. Control under pressure is not about being emotionless. It's about commanding your response. When others panic, you breathe. When others rage, you observe. When others collapse, you act. Machiavelli would call this virtue, the power to impose your will on chaos. Effective affirmation. I bend chaos to my calm. Nothing outside me controls me. 5. The discipline of ruthless accountability. The weak blame, the strong own. Every mistake, every loss, every failure, you claim it. Why? Because ownership gives you control, and control gives you power. Machiavelli advised rulers never to depend on luck. Fortune, he said, is like a wild river, dangerous when ignored, but manageable if you build strong banks. That's what accountability does. It builds the banks that keep chaos from drowning you. When you take full responsibility for everything in your life, you become unstoppable, because nothing can surprise you anymore. Effective affirmation. Everything is my fault. Therefore, everything is in my power. 6. The discipline of the invisible war. There's a war happening every day, and it's not outside you. It's inside. It's between the part of you that wants greatness and the part that wants comfort. Jung called it the shadow, the dark, impulsive, lazy self you try to hide. But here's the truth. You cannot destroy it. You can only discipline it. Every time you wake up early, every time you say no to distraction, every time you keep your word, you're training your shadow to serve you, not sabotage you. Machiavelli would call this internal governance. Rule yourself first, or you will be ruled by your impulses. Effective affirmation. My weakness obeys me. My shadow serves my will. 7. The discipline of delayed reward. We live in a world of instant dopamine. Likes, notifications, validation. But discipline means saying, not yet. In The Prince, Machiavelli praised patience as a form of power. He wrote that men should be either caressed or annihilated, meaning act fully or wait until the moment is perfect. Those who master timing win everything. Think of Warren Buffett. He waits decades before making a move, but when he does, it shifts entire markets. Discipline is not just about doing hard things. It's about waiting for the right moment to strike. Effective affirmation. I do not chase. I choose my moment. 8. The discipline of silent progress. The strongest ones rarely announce their plans. They move in silence. Machiavelli wrote that appearances matter more than intentions. So the wise man conceals his strategy behind calmness and humility. The disciplined don't need to prove themselves online. They prove themselves in results. Every hour you spend in quiet work, every sacrifice that goes unseen, is building an empire no one can take from you. Effective affirmation. I build in silence. I let results make the noise. Each of these disciplines cuts deep. They demand pain, patience, and isolation. But together, they form something sacred, an unbreakable will. 9. The discipline of strategic endurance. Most people quit not because the task is impossible, but because it's boring. They crave constant results, visible progress, applause. But Machiavelli knew that real power comes from those who can endure monotony without losing focus. The soldier who sharpens his sword for years before battle. The artist who paints for decades before fame. The leader who waits in the shadows, while others burn out chasing glory. That's endurance. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the quiet, brutal persistence that breaks lesser men. Machiavelli wrote, "He who builds on the people builds on mud." Meaning, don't rely on applause. Rely on consistency. Each repetition, each silent day of effort, builds a kind of armor. Effective affirmation. I endure when others escape. My patience is my power. 10. The discipline of emotional austerity. Let's talk about control, not of actions, but of emotions. Because emotions are the most efficient form of manipulation, especially when you manipulate your own. Machiavelli admired leaders who appeared calm, even when burning inside. He warned that showing emotion was equivalent to showing weakness, because once others can read your feelings, they can control you. Look at Queen Elizabeth I. She ruled with restraint. Her courtiers called her the Marble Queen, not because she lacked emotion, but because she never revealed it. That was her discipline. Her enemies didn't know if she was angry or pleased, and that uncertainty kept them off balance. Emotional austerity isn't coldness. It's containment. You feel deeply, but you decide when, how, and if it ever shows. Effective affirmation. My emotions are my instruments. I play them. They do not play me. 11. The discipline of psychological distance. The next level of discipline is learning to detach from outcomes, to act decisively, but without desperation. Machiavelli taught rulers that fortune favors those who can move with both aggression and detachment, because obsession without control turns into destruction. Think of a chess master. He doesn't panic over each move. He observes patterns, anticipates weakness, and thinks 10 steps ahead. That's Machiavellian distance, to remain emotionally removed, even while fully engaged in the fight. This discipline gives you power in negotiations, in relationships, in every high-stakes decision. Because when you stop needing the outcome, you suddenly control it. Effective affirmation. I act without attachment. My calm terrifies chaos. 12. The discipline of reversal. Machiavelli believed that true intelligence comes from the ability to reverse course, without pride. Most people are slaves to their own consistency. They double down on bad decisions, just to protect their ego. But the disciplined mind is flexible. It adapts, it pivots, it reinvents. Julius Caesar once said, "In war, events of importance are the result of trivial causes. A single small decision adjusted at the right time can change your entire destiny." That's what Machiavelli meant by prudenza, strategic adaptability. The disciplined man doesn't fear contradiction. He fears stagnation. Learn to reverse, to shift, to evolve, and you become uncatchable. Effective affirmation. I do not cling to identity. I bend reality to purpose. 13. The discipline of controlled aggression. Machiavelli's world was violent, but his lesson wasn't be cruel. It was be deliberate. Controlled aggression is using force with purpose. When a lion attacks, it doesn't roar first. It watches, calculates, then strikes once, decisively. The disciplined man acts the same. He doesn't explode. He executes. Think of Alexander the Great. He could be merciful or merciless, but always strategic. That's why he conquered empires before the age of 30. Aggression without control is rage. Aggression with control is dominance. Effective affirmation. My fury serves my aim. My power is precise. 14. The discipline of perspective. When you're in pain, when failure crushes you, discipline gives you a weapon most never use: perspective. Carl Jung wrote that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Your suffering isn't punishment. It's the training ground of strength. Machiavelli himself was betrayed, tortured, and exiled. But instead of surrendering, he turned his suffering into strategy. He wrote The Prince, a manual for survival in a cruel world. That's what unbreakable discipline does. Turns wounds into wisdom. When things fall apart, you don't beg for mercy. You look for the lesson, and you rise sharper than before. Effective affirmation. Pain refines me. Every wound becomes a weapon. 15. The discipline of the legacy mind. The final discipline is not about power. It's about time. Machiavelli said, "Men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel." Meaning, most live for what can be seen, but the disciplined live for what will endure. The unbreakable mind doesn't chase short victories. Plants roots. It builds systems that outlive emotion. Think of the Stoics. They trained their minds not for one lifetime, but for eternity. Their writings still guide millions. When you think legacy, you stop acting from impulse. You act from principle. Every moment becomes a brick in your monument. Effective affirmation. I build beyond myself. My legacy is discipline immortalized. You've now entered the final stage. The mindset Machiavelli reserved for kings, warriors, and creators of empires. Each discipline you've learned is a weapon. Each weapon, a choice. And each choice, a step toward unbreakable will. 16. The discipline of integration. Discipline is useless if scattered. The unbreakable mind integrates all practices into a seamless, living strategy. Machiavelli called it virtù, a combination of wisdom, courage, and cunning. Think of it like a sword. Strength alone is blunt. Strategy alone is brittle. But strength plus strategy plus patience plus timing equals a weapon no force can shatter. This is where ordinary people fail. They chase habits one by one, without connecting them. You now see the thread. Each discipline builds the other. Self-denial fuels obsession. Obsession strengthens endurance. Endurance sharpens control. Control commands destiny. Effective affirmation. I am not scattered. I am a single unstoppable force. 17. The discipline of fearless action. Knowing everything, yet never acting, that's cowardice. Machiavelli warned rulers, fortune favors the bold. Fearless action comes not from ignorance, but from preparation. You have learned to endure, to master emotion, and to wield patience. Now act. Strike decisively. Move deliberately. Your discipline becomes momentum. History remembers the doers, not the dreamers. Effective affirmation. I act with precision. My courage is disciplined. 18. The discipline of the invisible power. Power is often invisible. The strongest influence is unseen, like the roots of a tree. Machiavelli praised rulers who built networks, alliances, and reputations quietly. Their strength was hidden, and therefore untouchable. Your discipline becomes this invisible force. Others see your calm, your decisions, your endurance. They sense the unbreakable will behind the eyes. Silent power commands attention, respect, and obedience, without a single word spoken. Effective affirmation. My power is silent. My presence commands. 19. The discipline of relentless learning. Even the unbreakable must evolve. Machiavelli never stopped learning from failure. He studied history, human nature, and the art of war, so he could foresee the moves of kings and tyrants. Your mind, like your discipline, must sharpen continuously. Read, observe, analyze, experiment, fail, repeat. The unbreakable is never satisfied. He is always a student of life. Effective affirmation. I grow without end. My knowledge is my armor. 20. The discipline of moral adaptability. Ruthless discipline is not blind cruelty. It is moral flexibility under principle. Machiavelli's rulers succeeded because they could choose ruthlessness when necessary and mercy when it served strategy. This discipline ensures you act effectively, not emotionally. You become untouchable because you are unpredictable, but guided by a coherent internal code. Predictable virtue is weak. Moral adaptability is resilient. Effective affirmation. I act wisely, not rigidly. My principle guides my ruthlessness. 21. The discipline of eternal perspective. Finally, discipline is forged in the fires of time. Every choice, every sacrifice, every moment of pain becomes a brick in the structure of your life. Machiavelli said, men judge more by what they see than by what they feel. Think beyond the now. Think beyond the approval of others. Think beyond your lifetime. Your discipline is your legacy. Your endurance is your monument. Your will becomes immortal. Effective affirmation. I live beyond my fears. I build beyond my time. My will is eternal. Conclusion. Look back on these 15 disciplines. 1. Self-denial. 2. Isolation. 3. Obsession. 4. Control under fire. 5. Ruthless accountability. 6. Invisible war. 7. Delayed reward. 8. Silent progress. 9. Strategic endurance. 10. Emotional austerity. 11. Psychological distance. 12. Reversal. 13. Controlled aggression. 14. Perspective. 15. Legacy mind. Together, they form a ruthless architecture of the mind. One that does not bend to fear, pain, or chaos. One that commands itself first, then the world. Machiavelli didn't write for the timid. He wrote for those who want to rise above mediocrity. Those who will take the cold, lonely, uncomfortable path and emerge unbreakable. You now hold the tools, the knowledge, the discipline. But remember, knowledge without execution is useless. Discipline without action is wasted. Forge yourself. Endure. Strike. Become unbreakable.